Welcome back to the State Champs studio for episode 9 of Extra Innings. I'm Gage, DeAngelis. Alongside me, Robby, Elliott. Robby, how are you?
I am great, Gage. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. The regular season has finally ended.
Yes.
We're going into pre-districts, district finals, kind of matchups that we're going to be looking at this week. Robby, we have 4 potential district finals that we want to go over against a lot of good teams. First off, Robby, what does districts mean? What do districts mean to teams right now at this part of the season?
I think it is a lot of strategy, right? So you want to figure out if your team that you might have a weaker district, because as we move on, right, we're narrowing it down to the best teams in the state of Michigan. So there's a lot of strategy being played with pitchers and all this other stuff on how they should go about maybe if they have a weaker district, somebody like Orchard Lake St. Mary's, they've got a little bit of a weaker district, they should dominate. So it's like, okay, we don't want to go and just throw a guy who maybe doesn't have all the experience and then somehow, some way a team ends up beating somebody that they shouldn't. But at the same time, making sure that you get through that to get and have yourself prepared and have the best team ready for that big regional final matchup. So districts is just kind of, it can be strategic, but also for some of the teams that we're about to talk about, it can also be kind of difficult because there's going to be some really good games being played very early on in this state tournament.
And we are at the point in the season where it is win or go home. It's a matter of you have to strategize properly, but you have to win. You can't save a guy for the next game because the next game isn't promised to you. So I'm really excited about this, Robby. First up, we have that Groves Seaholm potential district final. Could you elaborate a little bit on both these teams and what we're going to be looking for?
Yeah, so there's a lot of familiarity with this matchup. And mind you, this is a possible district final matchup. Most of these games we're going to talk about are those. But yeah, I mean, Seaholm's going to roll out probably Kyle Robbins for this game because they don't have as tough of a matchup for their district semifinal. And then Groves has had a couple good pitchers in mind, or a couple of good pitchers on their team, so we don't know who they're going to play because they also have a district semifinal matchup that could be kind of interesting. They're going to play Troy. Troy's got 20 wins on the season, no slouch of a team. Don't be surprised if they catch Groves sleeping and are in this district final matchup. But if Groves and Seaholm play, tons of familiarity. Like I said, they're rivals, so this one's going to mean a lot, especially when there's a trophy on the line.
And if that's our prediction as far as the final goes, who do you got winning between those two?
Ooh, well, to know that most likely either Garden Kinney or Kyle Robbins is going to be on the mound, both of those Division I baseball commits, I'm going to have to go with Birmingham Seaholm. Even though Groves, I'm pretty sure, had the regular season edge, but once again, it doesn't matter. It's in the playoffs now. It might mean a little bit more. I'm going to go Seaholm.
I like Seaholm as well just because of their schedule this year based on how they did. Next up, big district game. We've got Brother Rice versus West Bloomfield. 29-1 Brother Rice up against the 31-7 West Bloomfield. Robby, I know you've been wanting to talk about this guy, but who are we really looking for outside of the Brother Rice side?
Yeah, so you talk about, first of all, let's just talk West Bloomfield. They are going to have to play North Farmington in the district semifinal. This is a team who has kind of taken on every single challenge in terms of good teams along this state, and this is one team that they had not crossed off their list in the regular season, and now they're going to get a shot at them. It's going to be super fun. Brother Rice, on the other hand, as much as this team has dominated every single team, I wouldn't say it's, and no matchup in the playoffs is a surefire win, right? But when they have to play Bloomfield Hills district semifinal with Brandon Newland, the Michigan commit, on the mound, there's just a possibility. That could be the thorn in their side. Brandon Newland, we've talked about, is such a good pitcher, but in terms of this matchup, Brother Rice, West Bloomfield, if they do get past Newland, they're going to have to face another Michigan commit in Slade Moore for West Bloomfield. And we talked about strategy, Gage. Brother Rice is going to have to decide. I mean, they have a slew of guys, right, to pick from in terms of starting pitchers: Blake Illich, Cole Duham, Cash Vandermeed, Cole Vandermeed. I mean, there's so many guys we could talk about. Tristan Crane. I mean, the list goes on, right? But they're going to have to strategize because there's a possibility that they play a Catholic League fellow right after this game in Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Tons of fun stuff over there in that side of the bracket. But yeah, it's gonna be a really big matchup very early on. A game that we could have probably saw if you placed these two teams on opposite sides. Could have seen in Michigan State, but I'm gonna have to go with the team that has showed no sign of weakness, Brother Rice.
Yeah, and that team in West Bloomfield was a top 15 team all year long. I got to give them credit. Again, Waters, if he can shut down that roster, if he can shut down that lineup, sky's the limit. Anything can happen in the state tournament. I'm on the Brother Rice side as well, but upper 90s, mid to upper 90s in the middle of June, it's hard to hit. So we'll see what happens. Next up, we've got the rubber match. We've got Trenton versus Southgate Anderson. Robby, you have a ton on this. We've covered both these teams a couple of times this year. Who you got?
So, yeah, like we said, rubber match, right? These teams have another matchup with a ton of familiarity in it, and Caleb Kidd is probably going to get the hand in this one, and he's been nothing but dominant for Trenton all year. Trenton is kind of, they were probably hoping to win that Downriver League. They did not. And Southgate Anderson at one point in time was the leader and undefeated in the Downriver League. So these two teams kind of have a little bit of bad taste in their mouth. They want to prove themselves and continue to play baseball, right? And so what two better teams to play up against than both of these guys? We'll see, but I'm going to have to go Trenton in this one just because they finished off their season a little bit better than Southgate Anderson did. They took 2 hard losses to West Bloomfield there at the end.
I can get behind that as well. And last but not least, we have a Division II matchup that potentially going to be happening in Flint Powers Catholic against Goodrich. Now, winner of this battle could potentially run the table in Division II. So we may potentially see them in East Lansing. Robby, could you kind of give us a little bit of insight on both these teams?
I couldn't have said it better myself. Flint Powers Catholic, Goodrich, these are 2 of the top Division II teams. I would say 2 top 5 teams, let's put it that way. And like you said, for a district semifinal matchup, this one's going to be super fun to watch. Isaac Sturgis has had himself a heck of a year. Carson Rathier over there for Goodrich. So 2 big bats are going to go up against each other. Grant Garman has continued to be what everyone expected him to be, the Oakland commit for Powers Catholic. He'll probably face up against Gavin Dunn for Goodrich. And mind you, this is a semifinal matchup, which is so unfortunate that there's not even a trophy on the line. But like you said, whoever wins this one is going to probably be representing Division II very far. They're going to take this thing very far in this tournament. I'm going to go with Flint Powers Catholic simply because of the pedigree and the resume and Grant Garman. We talked about this pre-show. You can kind of ride an arm all the way to the title, especially in those lower divisions like Division II. So expect Grant Garman and the Chargers to make a deep run in this one after they beat Goodrich.
Now, at that point in the season, we're going into districts, regionals, quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. Are there any teams out there that we may have not have discussed either this week, last week, previous weeks that you're really kind of keeping an eye out for in the future?
Saline is one of them. I think Saline is getting hot at the right time. I love this. We've talked a little bit about this team, but this is a team that I think has all the tools to make a deep run. And then another team getting really hot that we have talked about a little bit, also in that Downriver League, Allen Park, I think could take this Division II title from Flint Powers Catholic, who I would say is probably the favorite right now. So look out for those two. Matawan is kind of, I don't want to say they've fallen because, right after our top 10, of course, they had to play Orchard Lake St. Mary's, and Orchard Lake St. Mary's got a really big win, 2 very dominant wins against Matawan. So maybe St. Mary's is on the rise, right? But they're going to have that test in the regional semifinal. But Saline for sure and Allen Park, watch those 2 teams to make some pretty big runs. Sterling Knight Stevenson's also getting hot at the right time, but they've been a good team all year, so I wouldn't say that would be a surprise if we see them in a good quarterfinal matchup.
That's some good stuff right there, Robby. You are an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to this high school season. I really appreciate you being there for me this year. As far as that goes, another team that you alluded to, I'd like to see, keep an eye out on Orchard Lake St. Mary's. They've got a really good matchup, or at least path to state finals. If they potentially run into Brother Rice again, that's going to be another rivalry game there. So keep an eye out on them. But as far as that goes, anything else you want to kind of cover today, Robby?
I got nothing else. I'm excited to see how this pans out because like last year was one of those years where it was up for grabs. St. Mary's wasn't as powerful as they were in the years past. So it was kind of like, okay, who's going to be the team, right? We saw Novi do it, but we saw so many matchups kind of play out not how anybody would have thought they were going to, and I'm expecting the exact same thing this year. Yes, Brother Rice is the favorite, but in Division II, Division III, and Division IV, it's up for anybody, truthfully. We've had our consensus favorites, but look for some big upsets, especially early on. These district finals, these regional semifinals, there's always somebody sneaking out that we didn't anticipate, right? So I'm looking forward to see who those teams are going to be and bringing it all right here on State Champs.
And that's it for episode 9 of Extra Innings on State Champs in the State Champs studio. Thanks for joining us.
State Champs Extra Innings is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Be curious, make magic. Extra Innings is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud sponsor of the MHSAA. And the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Michigan High School Male and Female Athlete of the Year Award.